What is going on, Dragon Ball fans? Welcome back to another Dragon Ball fan manga review, where today we're going to be reviewing the fan manga entitled Dragon Ball AF, which of course is a fan manga following the events of Dragon Ball GT, and which also introduces us to Goku's third half son known as Xicor. And for many years now I've been reviewing and looking over fan-made Dragon Ball concepts and mangas, so today we'll be diving into a brand new chapter of this manga as we start the manga chapter off with chapter number 1, having to recap the events of Frieza, and we see it says here, while he received Son Goku's final attack, Frieza barely managed to survive. Time traces back a bit directly after Son Goku, who has awakened his Super Saiyan powers in defeating Frieza, ruler of the entire universe, on a distant planet known as Namek. So we get to see King Cold as he's watching his son Frieza within the rejuvenation chamber during the time of planet Namek's destruction, as we saw Frieza be defeated by Son Goku, but this time we see something a little weird going on as we have an apprentice with King Cold, that being the mother of Frieza. We see how Frieza is within the chamber and he says, "It hurts, mama, it hurts," with his mother having to reply by saying to a mere Saiyan as she seems to walk off, and we see how the mother seems to resemble that of a Kaioshin, so she seems to walk away from Frieza's rejuvenation as King Cold begins to say, "I will definitely extract revenge for him," and we see how Frieza's mother is really ticked on the idea that Frieza, who was supposed to be the ruler of that universe, was defeated by just a mere Saiyan, with Frieza's mom having to reply by saying, "I have no idea about that near-dead fool," and we see how Cooler is there and he says, "Frieza, he's alive," and we see how their mother replies by saying, "I no longer need a son who isn't the best in the universe." So she completely disregards Frieza of having him be defeated by someone like Son Goku, in which she follows up by saying, "Just what kind of man is he, that Saiyan who brought down Frieza named Son Goku?" And we see how automatically she tells everyone within the ship to prepare the ship immediately as she's formulating a plan, and she says, "I must reach contact with him before Cold and the others do. I want to know he will become my key to universal conquest." And that's when everyone is shocked by saying, "Leela-sama, certainly," and that's when she says, "Hurry up and get it ready, I am leaving immediately." And we see how right then and there it says, "A crisis unlike any before has drawn near on the peaceful planet," and now several decades have passed as we introduce ourselves to Dragon Ball AF, as the manga chapter recaps the events of Dragon Ball by saying, up until this very point, Son Goku and the other warriors of Earth have saved the planet from the attacks of Cell, Majin Buu, and numerous others, but Goku and the others have also saved the world by growing stronger themselves, and even afterwards the Earth was threatened countless times, but the Earth was deprived of both Goku and the Dragon Balls. However, the Earth has obtained peace ever since, and Son Goku's role has finally come to an end. Now this definitely follows up Dragon Ball GT, for Goku is no longer on the planet alongside that of the Dragon Balls, as we start the manga chapter off in front of Orange Star University, the very school that Gohan went to, and it says, "This is the college in Satan City, Orange Star University," with someone walking in and saying "Professor," as we see a familiar haircut in the distance, with this person having to be piled up by books, and it looks like he's also on the phone by saying the academic conference is tomorrow, with the girl having to yell out, "Professor, it's time for your lecture," and as this person turns around, it happens to be Gohan, and he says, "I'm sorry about that, could we handle this later?" And we see how Gohan quickly hangs up the phone and he gets to his classroom as he realizes that he is late on time, and he goes off to lecture his class, which is kind of cool because the very place where Gohan came from, now he's taken up lecturing, and he walks into the class by saying, "Right then, let's begin. I sure wish I could actually focus surely on my research," because Gohan has other things planned, but he also says, "But that'd be impossible as I'm the one that actually works for the family." So Gohan is the provider of the family because he is a professor, but he also wants to catch up on his research. But we also see another familiar face in the classroom, that being Goten, and Goten is sleeping, and then we see how someone wakes up Goten by saying, "Hey, did you see yesterday's news?" with Goten having to wake up and saying, I saw, it was pretty cool. It was about an alien being caught on Satan Rock, was it not?" And we see how Goten is actually talking, about aliens and stuff, which is kind of cool because no one knows about his lineage. And then we see how the girl says, "You know what I think it is? A shaven ape," and Goten is saying, "For real?" They're all having chit chat in class, and we see how Gohan's getting really irritated that he spotted Goten talking, and that's when Goten says, "Come with us. I mean, we're gonna have a good time trying to figure out what this is." But then the classroom is interrupted by an emergency broadcast, as the broadcast says, "A robbery has occurred in Keybird Town. I repeat, those in Keybird Town. There is an emergency robbery going down." And we see how Goten doesn't seem to be fazed by this because the girl says, "I've never seen an ape," and that's when Goten says, "Well, we're gonna have to check it out to see if it's an ape or not. So they're having small talk over all of this, and we see how Gohan says, I don't see how going to see an ape is real busy, and he calls out Goten, and that's when Goten says, wait, what's going on here? As Gohan says, didn't you just hear the broadcast? Get going already. And that's when Goten says, no way, I'm busy today, with Gohan having to pretty much chew out Goten for having to go out with this girl to see an ape, when in fact the city is in danger. So Goten actually listens up, he goes to the rooftop of his school, and he transforms into the Great Saiyan Man number 3, and in fact Goten has now taken up that position in being the Great Saiyan Man himself. So he goes off to, you know, find out who's robbing the city, and it turns off it is Pilaf and the gang. It's Mai, Shu, and Pilaf. We see how old they are, they're holding guns, they're trying to rob people, and then out of nowhere Great Saiyan Man appears alongside Oob as well, and Oob is there to also assist Goten in having to stop them, and that's when Oob says, everyone please step aside, and Goten is a bit shocked by this, with people saying, look, it's Papaya Man, and Goten is just like, what's going on here? Like, the spotlight has been taken off of me, and Oob and Goten are a little bit in competition to see who is the actual savior of the city, with Pilaf and the gang having to fire bullets at Oob, with Oob having to make quick work of the situation by knocking them all down, and we see how Goten says, just where do I stand in all of this, with everyone cheering Oob, and then we even get to see how Goten is reading the papers, and he seems to be last on the list because everyone cares about Oob. Oob is number 1, Mr. Satan is number 2, the original Great Saiyan Man is number 3, Great Saiyan Man number 2 is number 4, with Goten having to be ranked at number 100 at the very bottom, and Goten seems to be so disappointed because out of ranked 1 to 100, he's ranked dead last, and Goten says, I knew it would be a shock, but I mean, Jesus, number 100, and he seems to take off, but also we see these mysterious crashes in which was talked about in school because we see that it resembles that of Saiyan space pods, and then out of nowhere, a familiar face is shown as we see Frieza's mother standing alongside someone else, and we see how she says, yes, it is, it's time to fulfill our parent-child ambitions, it has finally come to this, and that's when this mysterious person says, so this is Earth, where Father is from, and that's when we pretty much get the reveal that this is Xicor, as he says, I am Xicor, the heir of my father's son Goku, the mightiest in the universe, and he begins to laugh at this, but he also seems to notice that there is someone flying by with significant ki, and Goten is flying around by saying, I wish that Oob were to have a bit more courtesy, with the mother of Xicor having to say, son Goten, we've already found you, and they seem to relish on the idea that it looks like they're scouting out Goten because Goten seems to be their first victim, and then out of nowhere we see how Xicor instantly teleports in front of Goten, with Goten having to say, whoa, what's going on, who are you? I am the Great Saiyan Man, and that's when Xicor replies by saying, so you are son Goten, and with that he sticks his hands out and he says, die, and he unleashes this massive energy blast in which not only knocks off the Great Saiyan Man helmet, but completely sends Goten flying off in the distance in this massive explosion, even to the point where Gohan felt the explosion from so far away and saying, Goten, what's the deal with this ridiculous large ki? What in the world happened? And Gohan realized that something has just went down involving Goten, because out of nowhere, the entire city is beginning to shake, with people all throughout the world saying it's an earthquake, everybody run, and we see how even Tien is saying, what was that? This is incredible ki, where is it coming from? And everyone having to, you know, panic on the idea that something is going down. This energy blast was so powerful, it literally almost shook the entire planet, and we see how Goten is down on the ground, nearly dead, and Gohan having to come to the aid of Goten by having to rush at the exact location where the ki blast having to took place. We see how Gohan arrives by saying Goten, and we see how Xicor says, wow, he's still alive, and that's when Zycor's mother says someone is coming, and then out of nowhere we see how Gohan arrives and saying, Goten, are you okay? And that's when she says, oh good, it's son Gohan, with Gohan having to cradle Goten and Goten saying big bro, and that's when Gohan's like, are you okay? Who are you? What are you up to? Why did you do this? And we see how Xicor has his hands crossed and he's saying, why do you have such pathetic energy? I mean, you're son Gohan, correct? And then Gohan is infuriated and saying, what? How do you know this? I'm asking you who you are. And that's when Xicor says, me? Well, I'm your little brother. And Gohan is just shocked by this idea because he's just like, how is this even possible? How are you supposed to be my brother? And Xicor having to say, you two do indeed have a strain of these pathetic earthlings in your blood, don't you? And that's when Gohan says, listen up, the only little brother of mine that I have here is Goten. Little brother, who are you trying to fool? And then out of nowhere, just as Gohan is talking to Xicor, both Vegeta and Trunks arrive, and Gohan having to say Vegeta, and that's when Xicor says, Saiyans, huh? That is it, even more of them as I expected. So Vegeta and Trunks arrive, and we see how Vegeta says, so he's the one that did that to Goten, with Gohan having to say yes. Trunks is in complete shock, trying to cater to his best friend, trying to aid him, with everyone asking just who are you, and Xicor having to say, I am Xicor, the ultimate body that possesses the genes of both the strongest warrior and deity in the entire universe. And that's when Gohan says, what are you talking about? The strongest warrior in the universe, deity? And that's when the Supreme Kai teleports behind Gohan and Vegeta and saying, allow me to explain, in which case everyone is baffled by what is going on, with her having to say, I am a goddess, I am his mother, Zycor's father is Son Goku, the same as yours, but it's only your mother's that's different, for I am the goddess. And that's when Gohan says, you expect me to believe that? And then even after we see how she fully explains her origins, with Gohan having to be shocked, everyone seems to be shocked as to, first of all, how she teleported behind them, and secondly, in explaining herself to everyone. But just as quickly as she teleported behind them, she instantly disappeared right next to Xicor, and that's when Gohan says instantaneous movement, she knows instant transmission, and that's when she says, I am here, fools, with Xicor having to say, I will rule the universe in my father's stand, it won't be any of you. Objectives, it's simple, I am the heir of Son Goku, who boasted the most powerful power in the entire universe, in which Gohan says, whatever the case may be, get lost, you guys don't belong here, in which the goddess says, Xicor, don't be swayed by them, kill them and you will become the ruler of the universe, with Gohan having to say, father was strong, but he doesn't rule the universe, and he doesn't plan on ruling it either, with Zycor's mom pretty much calling out Gohan's lies, and in which case all of a sudden we see how Xicor, has this energy in his hand, and he kind of points it on over to his right side, he sticks his hand out, and he unleashes this massive energy blast, in which not only catches Trunks off guard, but surprises Gohan as well, as we see this massive energy blast completely swallow one half of the entire planet. The cities, the people, everyone was killed off, with Vegeta, Gohan, and Trunks having to say, oh no, what the hell is going on? And we see this massive crater, and we see how Xicor says the land got plowed over, and he's beginning to laugh at this idea that he's killing millions of people easily, with Gohan having to say, what are you doing? And we pan out into space as we see a massive chunk of the earth has been destroyed by Xicor, and we see how Gohan says, why you? With Xicor saying, the earth in which you have spent time after time with your father defending is now important. Both of you and this planet I'm going to make disappear. And that's when Xicor vows in destroying everyone and everything, with Vegeta having to step up and saying, you'd better listen up, I'm going to teach you as to who's really the strongest warrior in the entire universe right now. I've been listening to you for a while talk about who's the strongest in the universe, so I'm about to show you. And then Vegeta becomes a Super Saiyan 4, as right then and there we see Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta waste no time in charging right towards Xicor. But even as Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta post Omega Shenron Saga charges towards Xicor, Xicor doesn't seem to be phased, as he's saying, so you're Vegeta, aren't you? And then we see Vegeta make contact with Xicor as he punches Xicor, but to no avail, because Xicor blocks it with his forearm. And we see how Vegeta is on the offensive, he's trying to catch Xicor off guard, and each and every single time Vegeta tries to land a shot on Xicor, we see how Xicor instantly catches Vegeta, and not only dodging his attacks but making a fool of him, even to a point where he grabs Vegeta's foot and then he punches Vegeta right in the abdominals, in which we see Vegeta's hurt because he stumbles back holding on to his stomach, and it looks like that one single shot was enough to stumble Vegeta, as Xicor says, you're this bad with just a single punch? Your royal blood weeps, Vegeta. And that's when Vegeta is being dragged by the hair as he grabs Vegeta, and he's pretty much holding him above right in front front of him as Xicor kicks Vegeta so high up in the sky. Vegeta didn't stand a single chance, and Gohan having to say, damn it. Trunks is saying, father, and that's when Gohan says, Trunks, you gotta get Goten out of here right now. And that's when Trunks says, Gohan, I want to join you. Gohan having to say no, and we see how Xicor, as he kicked Vegeta up in the sky, he teleports right in front of him holding this massive energy ball and saying, may the entire earth be gone, Vegeta. And Gohan having to say, not good, and Vegeta is about to get hit with this massive energy ball, and then all of a sudden, just as Xicor hits Vegeta with this massive energy ball, and as Vegeta goes down into the earth, we see how Gohan immediately transforms into a Super Saiyan 4. And with that, we see how Vegeta is going down into the earth, but Gohan makes the save by using his very own Kamehameha attack to push away the blast from actually hitting Vegeta as he's coming down into the earth. So Gohan pretty much saved Vegeta from the inevitable as he was able to push the blast away, with Vegeta having to fall down gently and Vegeta having to get up in pain. And we see how Trunks says, wow, I mean, he turned into a Super Saiyan 4. Even Son Gohan is capable of this power, with Gohan having to make the save just in the nick of time. But it looks like Xicor doesn't really care about this, because Xicor seems to teleport right in front of Vegeta and trying to curb stomp his head on down to the ground, in which he did, in which Xicor says, hurry up and come at me, Son Gohan, or do you plan on watching this from all the way over there as he dies? And Xicor is crushing Vegeta's skull beneath his foot as he's telling Gohan, come at me right now, and if you don't, I will indeed crush Vegeta's skull. And he wasn't even tempting this, because then he starts to squeeze Vegeta's face on down to the ground as Vegeta can't even move. He lost all form of movement, and then we see Trunks say stop it, and as he tries to save his father, we see how Gohan says no, don't do it, Trunks, and Trunks misses completely as he tries to attack Xicor, and even Gohan is shocked by this as Xicor clenches his hands together and completely hammer strikes Trunks on down to the ground, in which we see Gohan say stop, you don't do it. And even then Trunks is trying to stand back up, but then out of nowhere we see how Xicor sticks his hand out in front of Trunks' face, and he said, huh, you're a Saiyan too? Well, aren't you pathetic? You're too weak. And it looks like he's about to kill Super Saiyan Trunks right before everyone's eyes, until yet again Gohan makes the save in trying to punch Xicor from behind, in which case he does connect, and Xicor prior to this having to say make haste and be gone, and right before he was gonna kill Trunks, Gohan makes the save, and now we have Gohan on the offensive in attacking Xicor. Now keep in mind, Zycor's power level at this point is quite unknown, but he is able to contend against the Super Saiyan 4 and holding his own, as we see Xicor on the offensive beating Gohan around, and in which Xicor even says, so you finally feel like fighting, do you, Son Gohan? Come and get me then, come and beat me, I'm going to kill you either way. So Xicor is making light of this as he challenges Gohan, and Gohan notices that even though he is a Super Saiyan 4, he begins to power up because he realizes that he is indeed in danger, and we have this epic stare down between Xicor and Gohan as they both begin to power up, and Xicor is saying, let me tell you right now that I'm not here to enjoy this battle, I won't be pulling any punches, you're about to die. And we see how Goten is down, Trunks is hurt, Vegeta is down, and it is all up to Gohan to stop Xicor. And then we pan on over to the Supreme Kai world, where we see the Supreme Kai say, West Kaioshin, how could this be? Ancestor, ancestor, come here quickly, because he notices in the crystal ball that that's his sister. And we notice in the background as well, as we see a couple of warriors training together, and we see how the Supreme Kai says, there's a situation, ancestor, come right now. And he tells the Elder Kai, I need you here right now to see this. And we see how the Elder Kai pretty much has this giant cube squished on him, because everyone seems to be baffled as to why the Supreme Kai is so anxious and so nervous all of a sudden. And we see the Supreme Kai say, you dumbass, you're trying to kill me. And then he walks on over to the Supreme Kai and he looks down and he notices that there is someone in the crystal ball that he recognizes, and that's when the Supreme Kai says, yes sir, there's no doubt. And that's when the Elder Kai says, what, is that the Western Supreme Kai? And that's when Supreme Kai says yes, and that's what Elder Kai says, but wait a minute, weren't the other Kaioshins except for you killed by Majin Buu? So he also seems to be dumbfounded by this idea that all the Kaioshins were killed off at a certain point, so how is she alive? And that's what Supreme Kai says, what's going on here? Because we have a little flashback as to when Majin Buu was originally destroying all the Kais, and the Supreme Kai says that's right, she was killed off by Majin Buu. It's like, how did she survive? And we pan back to Xicor versus Gohan, and Gohan having to be beaten around. We see Gohan crash through the dirt, and then finally we see how Vegeta is being picked up by Trunks, and Vegeta having to reply as he's standing up by saying it's useless, Gohan can't defeat him. And we see how Gohan is having such a hard time battling him, and even Vegeta says this is one fine mess, this is one situation that we can't get out of. And we see how Trunks says nothing will work against them, with Vegeta having to say that's not the problem, there's something more, and Gohan having to be there. He's like, what should I do? This is bad, I don't have a chance, the difference in our power levels is huge. So Gohan even admits right then and there that there is a significant difference between Xicor's power and Super Saiyan 4 Gohan's power. But then meanwhile, we pan down to Hell, where we see some of the Hell guards there, and we see how the Kaioshin is on the phone and saying there's a little something I want to ask you, and then they're asking what's going on, with Kaioshin having to ask where the hell is Son Goku, with Piccolo having to say, did you say Goku? And we see how Piccolo, thinks about, Goku, and we see how Frieza and Cell are in the background, and we see how Cell is saying, we're going to dispose of you this time, as Piccolo is fighting both Cell and Frieza in Hell, making quick light of them. And then we see how Piccolo sticks his hand out and saying, let me see that phone, in which case he grabs the phone and says, Son Goku took his leave from this world, he shouldn't even be in this world to begin with, he's not here. So Kaioshin is actually looking for him, as Piccolo even says, sorry, but I'm kind of busy at the moment. With both the Elder Kai and the Supreme Kai having to look for Goku, they can't seem to find him. And then we see how the Elder Kai says, no, I definitely sensed Goku's soul back then, there is no doubting that he passed through Hell with Shenron, which is why they even called Hell to begin with, just to see if Goku was down there. And then out of nowhere, we notice that the Elder Kai is saying, we can't feel his energy, we don't know where he is, neither in this world nor the next, and in a world that we don't even know of, perhaps maybe the realm of the Kaioshin. And Elder Kai says, wait a minute, he went to what world? Oh crap, he went to the world of the Kaioshin. So yeah, we understand that Goku as of right now is within the realm of the Kaioshin. This is a world whose every existence has gone to be forgotten, and the person that is there with Goku is Pikkon, as Pikkon says, I still can't believe you chose to come to this world. And Goku says, ain't no helping it, after all it was the only way to save the earth. And that's when Goku says, come on, let's do some more sparring, in which we close off the manga chapter. And what a chapter this was, because now we have an understanding that early on in the beginning we see how there were times of peace until Xicor arrived, and Xicor is in fact kind of looking for Goku, but he's also challenging that of Vegeta, Gohan, Goten, and wanting to prove himself. And after having to learn that he is indeed related to Goku in terms of being his son, we see how the only person there that was able to stand up against Xicor for the moment being was Gohan, and that Vegeta, Trunks, and Goten failed, and nobody seems to understand where Goku is, because Goku is on a far off world training with Pikkon this entire time, in which case he's unaware that Earth as of right now is under the siege of Xicor, because everyone's assuming that since Vegeta, Goten, Trunks, and Gohan are there, that the Earth will be saved. But it turns out that each and every single one of those Saiyans are having a hard time contending against this monster. So post your comments down below, guys. What are your overall thoughts on Xicor? What are your overall thoughts on Vegeta having to be curb stomped? What are your overall thoughts on Gohan versus Xicor? And what are your overall thoughts on Xicor's power level as to how strong he is? Thank you guys for watching. As always, if you guys are Dragon Ball fans, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. That way you guys are always notified with all the latest in Dragon Ball news, information, and updates alongside discussions. If you guys love Dragon Ball, smack this video up with a like. Tune back in for chapter number 2, and I'll be seeing each and every single one of you guys down in the comment section below. Take it easy, guys. Peace.